Every morning the world starts quietly, one soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing, a spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, everyone. Before we begin, I want to talk about what we're going to talk about this week. We're talking about control. Not just one kind of control, though, all of it. Self-control, control over our attention, control in leadership, of course, political, economic control. There's manipulative control. We're going to talk about ways to avoid that for ourselves and for others, and the quiet ways that control shows up in relationships and in systems and in daily life. Remember, some control protects us, some control guides us, and some control harms us. This week isn't about telling you what to think, though. It's about helping us all notice where control is healthy, where it is harmful, and where we will still have a choice. We explore what control really means, what it costs, and what happens when we confuse power with presence. And today we start with the foundation, because before you can understand control out there, you have to understand the control that lives in here. Welcome to Kindness Rising. I'm glad you've all joined us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to put on my glasses because I can't read the comments without them. And lo and behold, coming in from LinkedIn is Danny Maldonado. Thank you, Danny. Haven't seen you over here in a while, but I've been watching you over on LinkedIn, and I'm glad you've come back and joined us this morning. Mike Sullivan, welcome in, buddy. I am glad you are here today. So this week is Control Week. I don't know what kind of control. We could be, wasn't that a Janet Jackson song, guys? Control. I don't remember. I'm not that great with Janet Jackson, but I remember, I'm pretty sure it was. Anyway, I do want to talk about control, and because there's so much happening. We all know that there's so much happening out there. It all matters. Unfortunately, it's all loud, and most of it is completely out of our control. So today we're going to do something different. We're going to focus on what is in our control, because this morning our theme is simple. Control the controllables. Control the controllables. What have we been focused on that's been out of our control versus what we can focus on that is within our control? Good morning, Mother Roseanne Roof. Welcome in. If you're out there in the community, don't forget to say hello. Tell us where you're coming from on this Monday morning. Get involved. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. So why this? Why now? Whatever, right? So I have been thinking a lot about this as things have been changing in my life, and things moving positively forward, even that kind of stress, making other changes in life, get so focused on the outcome, trying to get to the outcome. But calm and control, that grows actually when we focus on the inputs, right? You don't control the news cycle. You don't control other people's opinions, the algorithm, the weather, yesterday, whatever it is. But what you do control is what you put into the work, how you start your day, just like starting here at Kindness Rising, what you give your attention to and what you choose to not give your attention to. Talked about it last week, obviously, with what's been going on in the world these days. It's very easy to get sucked into it, and I found myself doing a lot of doom scrolling. So I consciously made an effort to not pay attention to that. Absolutely, because that's something I could control. How much time do I spend with my face like this? Right? And how do you respond when things don't go your way? That you can control. Things are not going to go your way every time, all the time. We know this, right? Pretty basic stuff, but at the same time, I think it's important that we remind ourselves these things because we all get into that spiral of focusing on what's the outcome going to be, the uncertainty of the future, when all we can do is focus on our inputs, on our thoughts, where it starts, moving into our behaviors and our idea, taking our ideas and making them true through action. What's the deal with the tunnels? I don't know, Drew. I don't know what the deal is. The tunnels. It was also her third album. Oh, got it. Danny Maldonado. It was also the third album title. All right. See, thank you. I needed a pop culture reference here. I don't know anything about rat tunnels. Melissa Pearson. Good morning. I am glad you are here too. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. I enjoy watching the work that you do, the work that Danny Maldonado does in terms of helping people to find their true voice and brand and get it out there. I appreciate it. Connor Turner, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So here's the next segue, right? You don't control those things, but what do you control? You can control the effort that you bring every day. And most importantly, what we talk about here, the kindness that you offer, the kindness to yourself, the kindness to others, the ability to see someone else's perspective, to listen with patience, with understanding, with empathy. That's what you can offer. That's what I offer here, trying to understand this. I was thinking about this morning as I wrote some script and whatever, but what am I going to talk about? And what kept coming back to me, believe it or not, after 30 plus years was my education, right? I have a master's in health administration, and the entire program that I was in was all about systems. That's really a core foundation of my thinking, right? And looking at the ability to look at how each part plays in the system and how decisions and what we do impacts all the parts. All the parts. Now I did it within healthcare. You had the board of directors, you had the physicians, you had the community, you have the staff, you have the payers. Like there's all this system, right? And one decision impacts the other. It's the same thing in the family. Something happens to brother, it happens to sister in a way, right? Right. Something as parents, something happens to our kids. We are an interconnected system. Something happens to our kids. It changes the balance. It changes the balance. So that's what I think we can control. We can control our ability to look at life as a system, to understand all the different parts that come to play and try to understand things from those perspectives, because you're never going to satisfy everybody with the decisions you make. But that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about control, and I was thinking about what's within our control, and then understanding how those other pieces work, but also understanding that we can't control many of them. Connor, I would be glad to talk about AI and how that affects student learning. I've seen how it affects student learning. Yes, formally in formal education, our education system, the institute, the institutions of education, not just what they teach, how they teach, but or not just what they teach, but how they teach, and how the proliferation of information. I'd be very interested in that, to hear what your perspective is on it, Connor. There is no doubt that AI is the perhaps the single most impactful construct thing in the world right now, in terms of, at least in terms of technology. I was walking through Wegmans grocery store yesterday, of course, looking at the magazine and who's the Time Person of the Year. Did anybody see that? I saw it. It's actually a great image, but it's the Time Person of the Year. It's not a person, it's the architects of AI. is the person of the year. And the photo on the front of the magazine is a obviously Photoshop modified version of the I should know it because I try to know these things. But the famous photograph of the workers sitting on a steel beam, hovering over the city as they're building skyscrapers in New York, having lunch on the beam. But it's Elon Musk and Sam Altman and all those guys. It was very interesting. I didn't pick up the magazine though, so obviously it didn't sell me a magazine. But that's not the point. The point is that AI is obviously one of the huge factors that's going on in our lives right now. Anyway, Connor, what's your opinion? What's your stake? What's your how does it impact you personally? Why is that important to you? I'm very interested to hear about it and glad to have a conversation about it. Oh, interesting, Sully. Sorry, I was reading a comment there. If you guys can't see, I'll read Mike Sullivan's. I remember the one in 2005, a mirror, because it was the person of the year was you on YouTube in a mirror of everyday creators. That's crazy. That was 20 years ago. Well, certainly the everyday creators trend hasn't stopped. That's why we're here right now, creating and connecting through this technology. Absolutely. All right. And the other thing that I wanted to say before I move on to the next thing is remembering. Oh, apparently somebody else is trying to get in touch with me too. Remembering that we're all just looking for some peace, peace within ourselves. Everyone. Some people feel like having peace within themselves is having control over things. Some people think having peace within themselves is not being bothered by anything, by financial, whatever it is. But we're all looking for it. But it isn't. It can't be passive. You can't just wait for it. You have to go out and create it with your disciplined attention, right? Through focus on a mission by staying on task and in control with the mission. And that's our segue into our kindness spotlight. I got away from these. I promised to bring them back, and I appreciate that you guys are interested in organizations that are out there doing good work for good people, by good people, that are multiplying kindness. And that's what we do here. And today I'm going to get a little local. I know not everybody out there is from the southern tier of New York, but I had a great conversation last week with a colleague from an local organization that's doing amazing work in the world of serving individuals with all levels of disability and all age groups, which I think is really interesting. It started off as what was known as the Handicapped Children's Association, and their mission has evolved over time. And they've been living their principles since 1947, right here in our local community in Binghamton. It's an organization called Helping Celebrate Abilities. HCA used to be Handicapped Children's Association, and like I said, they support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and their families across every stage. Absolutely. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. I tried it. Oh, did it. All right, cool. This is HCA. Here's their organization. I love the photographs. You see all the smiling, happy faces. But they're out there. They're not trying to fix people. They're not trying to rush outcomes, and they're not chasing noise. That's what I love about this, connected to this, controlling dignity, controlling consistency by showing up, controlling opportunity for people and inclusion for people. Absolutely.
HCA is helping celebrate abilities. For over 75 years, our mission has been to provide the highest quality services and support to individuals with disabilities and their families in the Southern Tier. We offer day and community habilitation, respite, self-directed services, supported employment, individualized residential alternatives, evaluations and screenings, and much more. Visit our website at hcaserves.com to learn more.
All righty, dighty. That is HCA. I think I handled that a little bit smoother for those of you who have come here and stuck around over time. So watching me try to handle these things, I'm pretty proud of myself. That's growth right there for me. It's the little things. Anyway, from integrated preschool classrooms, residential supports, employment services, the whole community, HCA meets people where they are and helps them move forward with patience and respect. And they control the controllables. And that's what that looks like when kindness becomes a daily practice. All right. That's HCA. I actually, like I said, I met with a gentleman that works there where we used to work together at another organization, and watching what they're doing, the way they are building programs and expanding inclusion for individuals is just amazing. And Mom, you're out there, I think, ears up on this one. Guess what building they just bought that they are moving into to expand their services. 114 Clinton Street, Binghamton, New York. Mom, you'll know that address, I'm sure. It's the former address, former intersection where my father's business was for 80 plus years before they moved into a new building. And I think they've been around now over 100 years. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting little intersection. You never know where your lives are going to be intersecting when you get out there and you talk to people. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. My first job was in the basement in that building. You know, it's just really pretty cool. So I'm going to be supporting HCA and giving back. If you're out there in the Binghamton community seeing this, they have an event coming up. It's a wine tasting event. If you go to their website, HCA Serves. It's the 18th year they've been doing it, and I think I'm going to go this year. I have never been, but I'm very interested this year. So it's a fundraising event for them. If you're in the Binghamton area and you have a chance to check out HCA Serves, think about going to their event and supporting the organization, because they're doing great work for great people, as great people right here in our community. Okay. All right, we're going to shift. What is going in there now? I just said, Mom. It was the Department of Health. This is HCA bought the building. Found that out. That's kind of cool. And they're moving in. And they're building outpatient services out of that building. So I think there will be good vibes happening out of that building, which is the most important thing. Absolutely. All right. Shifting gears as promised, because this was something that was interesting to me, and something that I don't think we really ever talk about, or at least I don't hear people talking about. You have to investigate it yourself and then share the information when you know, right? And so we're back to government shutdown. Hearing that, I put a intentionally provocative image on my thumbnail, but the point is the exact opposite, right? That language, government shutdown, dun, 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 it feels unsettling. And it's not wrong. It is unsettling a little bit. But if we slow it down and find out what it actually means, and what it means for who, and what actually happens, and why it happens, we can be a little bit more calm about it, right? Congress isn't passing funding bills. It's a negotiation tool. And sure, what we're talking about is big when we get to this point, right? Here's the interesting part. Before 1990, like there was never a government shutdown for over this, right? Then it became a negotiating tool. And these shutdowns that happened, they've happened 6 or 8 times, I think, over the past 30 years. We've had one in 2017, 2018. I don't remember exactly. We had them under Clinton. We had them under Biden. I mean, it was just that the point is it's not political. It's a negotiation tool. It's part of the process. It's part of the system. It's why the system exists. Now, do I think that it should ever get to the point where they can't come up with an agreement by time and figure it out? No. But I also understand that there's complexities, crazy complexities behind that. And it's important to think about what the partial pause means so that we don't get most people, honestly, most people today, tomorrow, next few days, if there's continued shutdown, aren't really going to feel that pinch. And most people who do feel the pinch aren't even going to feel it until later, because really what we're talking about is the people who are infected are federal workers and contractors. Some of them have to keep working without immediate pay. That's a tough one. Others are furloughed and sent home. But eventually it catches back up, and it's disruptive, and it's a pain in the butt for people, I'm sure, and it's a hardship, but it's part of the process and it's part of the system, is my point of that. Good morning, Daniel Allison. I am glad to see you here, getting up and getting after it with this morning. We're talking about the government shutdown and what does it really mean? Who does it impact? Because Social Security checks are still going out, all those funding, all that program, public safety remains intact. Probably the closest thing to a safety concern might be, it's a big one considering, but the air traffic control. Air traffic control is majorly impacted by this. And things will slow down, offices will temporarily close, but that foundation of our government is still going to hold. It's still going to hold. Again, this is not anything new. Both parties, multiple presidents over decades, some of them get resolved in days, sometimes in weeks. Historically, they've been temporary. Could anything happen? Of course, anything could happen. But I believe we will get to the point where we will figure this out. And this is the process. I mean, I know it's done through sound bites and us versus them, but this is the process. This is the funding process. This is how it works. This is the negotiations that happen. This is why we elect our leaders, and the elections are so important. Again, taking it back to controlling the controllables. We can't control what they decide sitting at that table. We can't control the headlines that are in our face, but what we can control is not allowing fear to creep in. How we treat other people as we're serving them, and those that are serving us, and how steady we remain for our family and our community through any of these changes, right? Because kindness in moments like this where there's uncertainty and chaos, it's patience, it's grace, it's not amplifying the panic. And it's remembering always that human beings are caught up in all of this, and we're all in the middle. That's that empathy and understanding and caring that we want to bring here. So thank you so much for joining me here on Kindness Rising. I am so happy that you all have come out to help me get up this morning. I hope you are getting up well this morning for sure too. All right. So let's shift gears again back to the controlling the controllables, and we'll wind it down. Thank you so much again for joining me here. So what are things that you have access to that you can control? What are the things that we have access that I know I will be accessing when I'm feeling out of control or so focused on the outcome that I forget about the input, and doing the input today is going to get me to the output tomorrow, the outcome tomorrow. Start with your breath. That's something that I know. My family is like, dude, you're sighing again. But what I'm really doing is just releasing tension and doing it intentionally, right? To release tension and bring my systems into compliance with positivity. Your words, what you say, how you treat others, right? Most importantly, I think is not most importantly, but very importantly is the effort. What we can't do when we feel overwhelmed is completely stop and never get it back. Sure, we have to pause. We have to take a rest, take that breath, step away, whatever it may be. But we have to get back to giving the effort. And sometimes the effort is the pause, right? Sometimes the effort is the pause. You have to make an effort at making the pause. And of course, your attention. I talked about it earlier. Man, I have fallen deep in over several days, and I find myself getting sucked back in on the scrolling. But I am focused on getting rid of that, right? Absolutely. Getting that out of my life. Remember, you don't carry the whole world today. You're just carrying your corner of it. So here's my invitation for you today. I hope you'll do this. Pick one thing that you know you can control today, one thing, and do it. Do it with true care, something that you might not normally do. Do it with care, do it with intention, do it kindly. One thing done really well, and then just let the rest go. Let the rest go. All right. Well, I am glad you have chosen to join me here, 7:30 a.m. Eastern on the Mornings in the Lab Network. We're Kindness Rising, getting started for Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends. Get you guys, everybody on over there to have a little bit more. They're going to be talking about Groundhog Day and what that has to do with your ongoing fitness and your wellness. So I think that'll be an interesting segue and connection over there for sure. Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends. They're coming up at 8 o'clock on the Mornings in the Lab Network. Absolutely. And we are starting, there will be a new show starting tomorrow. Get over there, see Cheryl Raphael Whitaker, right? And her, oh my gosh, her site is Joy. Oh my gosh, my brain. I'll figure it out and I'll make sure I get it out to you. But make sure you're checking out a woman named Cheryl Raphael Whitaker. Absolutely. She'll be there tomorrow. All right. Melissa, I appreciate you. I am glad you were out there over on LinkedIn. We're doing this every day, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I get up and help us all to get up with a little bit of kindness, a little bit of hope, a little bit of humanity and heart on the Mornings in the Lab Network. Absolutely. All right. So remember this, calm doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from knowing what's yours to hold and what you're allowed to release. Control the controllables, release the rest. That's how calm becomes contagious. I hope you'll continue to join me here on Kindness Rising, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Subscribe to the channel if you're out there. Get on over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends. They're going to be getting started here in just a minute. Until then, tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., I want you to do this. Stay uncommon and stay kind.
Okay, Matt, we got the memo about the Kindness Rising promo, but what exactly are we promising people?
And is there craft services? Hey, I need snacks too.
Gentlemen, focus. Kindness Rising multiplies kindness and helps people get up on the right side of the bed.
So wait, we're not doing another angry headline show.
Exactly. We rise above the negative, divisive noise.
Translation, less rage bait, more high fives for humanity.
And this is live, like actually live.
Yep. We go live on YouTube and LinkedIn, 7:30 a.m. Eastern every weekday.
Wait, if it's live, what if I forget my lines?
Then you improvise.
Okay, so our tagline is basically wake up, tune in, and start your day with kindness.
Exactly. Kindness Rising. Good vibes, practical tips, and a reason to get up on the right side of the bed.
You heard the boss. Subscribe now before he makes us do a TikTok dance.
Kindness Rising. Wake up, tune in, and let's make some good noise.